is Cultured Hollywood for Smart People for Tuesday, February 12th, 2019. I'm Nico. I'm your host. We're talking movies, television, music, and so much more in a way that smart people can enjoy them. We are jam-packed on a Tuesday afternoon. So many takes to get off my chest. I will admit, ladies and gentlemen, I am in a bit of a mood. I'm a little PO'd on a Tuesday. I'm a bit on edge, and I'm coming for some scalps this afternoon. A little bit of context. Last night, I watched that documentary on Netflix, Abducted in Plain Sight. And without spoiling anything about that film, I think most people should just go into it cold if they don't know anything about it. It made me very angry. And it made me toss and turn in bed last night. It made me text Rob at 2:30 in the morning and start screaming at him because he's the one that recommended this movie to me. I just texted him with a, "Ah!" all capital letters and many exclamation points. And I'm sure a sliver of that anger came from the actual subject matter of the film. But I suspect that most of that rage came from a bit of news that broke last night from Oscar land. And that's what we're going to lead off today's podcast with. This stupid fucking idea that the Academy Awards dreamt up last night. You know what, Oscars? You really blew it this year, didn't you? You really shit the bed on this one. You had a nice thing going for a little while. You were the second highest rated entertainment program of the year behind the Super Bowl. Everyone wanted to go to the Oscars. Everyone wanted to host the Oscars. And most importantly, everyone wanted to watch the Oscars. Entertainment's biggest night. Hollywood's brightest stars showing up in beautiful gowns and glorious tuxedos, vying for that shiny golden trophy. You used to mean something. You used to matter. You were a part of American iconography. And then all of a sudden, your ratings start to dip. We're down 20% in the key demographic. No one cares about film anymore. What do? I know. Let's manufacture a category for the movies that people actually watch. We'll call it Achievement in Popular Film. Because after all, those movies that gross over $200 million at the box office, that are universally beloved across the board, across all ages, they have no place in the lofty Best Picture category. So the Academy tweets this out, and the Twitter mob decides to riot. So scrap that idea. No more popular film category. And then a few months goes by, and now the Oscars are looking for a new host. A young, dynamic, fresh face to MC Hollywood's biggest night. They search the greater LA area far and wide, scanning Hollywood Boulevard and Beverly Hills. And nobody wants to do it. Well, nobody except for one person. That is Kevin Hart, who no less than 24 hours after accepting the gig is forced to step down after a bunch of internet trolls dig up homophobic tweets from his past. Can't have that now. Kevin Hart steps down, has no interest in reassuming his mantle, and now the Oscars are forced to go on without a master of ceremonies. Way to go, Oscars. You overly politicized yourself to death. Now no one wants to do it. No one has the balls to assume that role because it is a no-win situation. You tried getting more political, and it backfired straight into your faces. And now, the latest brilliant idea to come out of the Motion Picture Arts and Sciences boardroom. Oh, to be a fly on the wall for this meeting of the minds. Oh, man, I would love to see this PowerPoint presentation. Turns out, in 2 weeks when the Oscars airs on ABC, 4 specific categories will not air during the regular broadcast, but rather will be handed out during the commercial breaks. When you're watching commercials for Johnson & Johnson and a trailer for the latest Aladdin movie. As you're watching those advertisements, the Academy Awards will hand out the best film editing, best makeup and hairstyling, best live action shorts, and best cinematography categories to their respective winners. And I guess you'll be told about it as like a lower third or something. This could be the worst idea the Oscars have had yet, and that is truly saying something. This is not only a slap in the face to fans of movies, this is not only an affront to a 91-year-old institution, this is, simply put, an ill-advised, ill-conceived, moronic business decision on the part of the Academy. I have no other words for it. It is moronic. It is ill-advised. It is just plain stupid. Let me explain something to the Academy, in case they're listening. You are the Oscars. You are not the Golden Globes. You are not the Emmys. You are not the Grammys. You are the goddamn motherfucking Oscars. People watch you because you matter, or at least we think you matter. You've been around longer than the rest of those institutions. Your award is far more coveted than the rest of those institutions. And you, unlike every other televised award show, is about celebrating the craft of filmmaking. That is your brand. That is what you do. The Grammys have live music. The Tonys get theatrical. The Golden Globes get really hammered. Those are their brands. Those are the products that they deliver year in and year out despite the ratings. Because newsflash, America, every network is struggling in the ratings. Everyone's getting their ass kicked by Netflix. Everyone is getting their ass kicked by Amazon. Everyone is getting their ass kicked by Hulu and video games and YouTube. This is not breaking news. The Super Bowl just hit a 10-year low. The Grammys just hit an all-time low this Sunday. Over-the-air television is dying. It's inevitable. It's over. What that doesn't mean is that you just give up on everything you've ever stood for. That you just abandon your entire mission statement in the face of the slightest ratings adversity. This is not the appropriate course of action for the Oscars, and I have an example to explain why. Do you remember when Borders went out of business a few years ago? Do you even remember what Borders was? Because I barely do. Borders was a brick and mortar bookstore, a fairly popular one. And for a while there, it coexisted with Barnes & Noble. As a matter of fact, my local Borders was right across the street from my local Barnes & Noble. If I drive to that same location today, the Borders has been replaced by an LA Fitness, and the Barnes & Noble is still standing. That's because in the face of adversity, Barnes & Noble did not try to become something it wasn't. It doubled down on what it already was. Amazon had already cornered the book market. Those that wanted to buy physical books could just order them through Amazon Prime, and those that were sick of physical books had a Kindle, so they could read any title they wanted digitally. So what did Barnes & Noble do? Well, they asked themselves two very simple questions. What do we do well? And which audience does that serve? And their answers were actually quite obvious. We sell physical books. And which subset of America still buys physical books? College students. Textbooks are as prominent now as they've ever been. So what do? We open up hundreds of bookstores on college campuses, and we sell predominantly textbooks. Both colleges that I attended in my life had physical Barnes & Noble locations. And every single professor, every single website, every single syllabus pointed me in the direction of Barnes & Noble. Get your textbooks there. Buy or rent at a discounted rate. And Barnes & Noble is still chugging along. They're struggling. They're still getting their ass kicked by Amazon, and they will never be Amazon. But they're alive. Because rather than becoming something they weren't, they doubled down on what they already were. What do the Oscars do well? They celebrate each and every stage of the filmmaking process. And which audience does that serve? People that like the filmmaking process. The Oscars are losing the casual viewer. They are losing the mainstream audience because guess what? Everyone is. The only subsection that they can truly count on are the film nerds like you and me that care about cinematography, that care about editing, that care about good direction and good production design, that embrace the nuances, that embrace the categories that most other people can't even define. If you lose us, you've lost everyone. Hey, Academy, here's an idea. Get rid of all the unfunny bits. Move away from the politics. Cut out all of those Hollywood is so great montages. You know the ones I'm talking about. If I got to see one more fucking clip of Gone with the Wind, I'm going to blow a gasket. Trim the fat, streamline this thing. It should be all presenters and all acceptance speeches, with a few musical performances every now and again. Embrace what you do well. And here's the thing, and this is what drives me even more crazy. If you feel the need, and this is a big if, by the way, if you truly feel the need to take out 4 categories and put them during the commercials, if you truly believe that it is vital to the survival of the Academy Awards to relegate 4 categories to the breaks, why the fuck would you choose these 4 categories? Seriously, who came up with this list? Live action short. Okay. No one's going to miss it. I am sort of the belief that short films should sort of be reserved for their own thing. Like, this is a feature film award show. Every other category celebrates feature films. I wouldn't mind if you take out the shorts. Like, that is the best version of this. If you must, take out the 3 shorts, put them during the technical Oscars earlier in the week. And no one's going to miss them. That's fine. But you take out live action short. You take out makeup and hairstyling, which is a major category. Vice is going to win it this year. Vice had incredibly compelling makeup, transforming Christian Bale into Dick Cheney. It's a big category that you're taking out. And then here's the big two: film editing and cinematography. I think it was Alfonso Cuarón, who, by the way, is nominated for Best Cinematography this year, that put it best on Twitter. This is what he said: "In the history of cinema, masterpieces have existed without sound, without color, without a story, without actors, and without music. No one single film has ever existed without cinematography and without editing." Guillermo del Toro backed him up. "If I may," he says in a tweet, "I would not presume to suggest what categories to cut during the Oscar show, but cinematography and editing are at the very heart of our craft. They are not inherited from a theatrical tradition or literary tradition. They are cinema itself." But of course, the casual viewer doesn't even know what cinematography even means. So you are now banished to the wasteland of commercials. You're off the broadcast. This is the problem when you cater to the mainstream. You risk alienating your bread and butter. You risk alienating your core audience. And folks, you might say, oh, the hardcore fans are always going to watch the Oscars. The hardcore fans aren't going anywhere. I'm not so sure that's true. I was pissed off, royally pissed off last night. Cinematography? Alfonso Cuarón is going to win Best Director and Best Cinematographer this year. That is a major achievement. Cinematography, as Guillermo del Toro said, is the lifeblood of cinema. You can't have a movie without cinematography, and you can't have a movie without editing. Movies are made and broken in the editing bay. If a movie has a bad editor, there is nowhere to hide. The movie doesn't sing. The movie doesn't move with the right pace, with the right tempo. The tone is thrown off. Good editors can save bad movies and destroy good ones. And we're just going to mention them as a cliff note during the commercial breaks? My God, who decided this? And by the way, a shout out to Mark Harris on Twitter. He's a writer for Vulture. These are his series of tweets that he wrote on the matter. And I thought they were incredibly insightful. And it's a pretty good conspiracy theory, if I may put my tinfoil hat on for a second. By the way, Mark Harris tweets, "How interesting that none of the categories consigned to commercial breaks happen to feature a nominee from Disney, the parent company of ABC. This is about ABC using the falling ratings for all award shows as a way to tell the Academy you're doing it wrong, with the goal of turning the show into an infomercial for commercial Hollywood product, including its own, and the Academy being too naive about TV to know it's being played." I think this is a fantastic conspiracy. I tweeted this last night, and I got some hate, by the way, on the Too Many Thoughts media account on Twitter. I said, why isn't sound editing and sound mixing during the commercials? No one gives a shit about those two categories, including myself. And wouldn't you know it? Look who's nominated in the Best Sound Editing category. Black Panther, a Disney movie. In sound mixing, you also have Black Panther. Production design, Black Panther and Mary Poppins Returns. Original score, Black Panther and Mary Poppins Returns. Costume design, Black Panther and Mary Poppins Returns. All Disney movies. Visual effects, Avengers Infinity War, Christopher Robin, and Solo, a Star Wars story. All Disney movies. And film editing and cinematography are left out. Shit, even in the animated short category, which is being shown during the major broadcast. The Pixar short, Bow. I'm not buying it. I am not buying what ABC and the Academy Awards are selling. This is an affront. This is an abomination. I know I sound like a pretentious asshole. I know I'm just a film nerd that enjoys wearing thick-rimmed glasses. Go back to your art house cinema, you freak. Listen, folks, call me whatever you want. Sticks and stones might break my bones. Names will never hurt me, motherfuckers. I am standing up for the institution of film, and I will not back down. But seriously, like, just get rid of sound editing. I'm cool with it. This is Cultured. We're talking Grammys after the break. Stick around. So, I don't have a ton to say about the Grammys, or at least not a ton good to say about the Grammys. I thought for the most part it was pretty unwatchable. Yet, I sat there 3 hours and 45 minutes painstakingly tweeting my every thought. It was like the pop culture equivalent of running an Ironman. I was just drained by the end of it. Except I was in my pajamas and on my phone. And my heart rate didn't tick up at all. And I'm fat. But beyond that, it was like the Ironman. It was really crazy. Where do I want to begin? I guess I'll start with this. And this sort of acts in stark opposition to what I was just talking about with the Oscars. Any struggling business should double down on their assets. And the Grammys' biggest asset is live music. Make no mistake, the Grammys are not an award show. There are only like 8 to 9 awards given out during the main broadcast, and they're few and far between, and no one discusses them the next morning. No one cares about Best Album, Record of the Year, Song of the Year. They care about the live performances. 80 to 90% of the show is a concert. And by the way, this is a very popular concert that people enjoy tuning into. So unlike the Oscars, which is best served focusing on the awards, the Grammys are best served attracting big names, dynamic performers that generate buzz the next day. And how do you do that? Well, for one, you nominate a lot of popular dynamic performers. You nominate Beyonce and Jay-Z and Rihanna and Katy Perry and Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars and Drake. And you hope to God that they show up. And they give you 5 to 10 minutes of their time. And they generate buzz for you. Well, for the most part, the Grammys failed in that department this year. The biggest stars up for the major awards were Childish Gambino, who didn't show up, Kendrick Lamar, who didn't show up, Drake, who showed up briefly but didn't perform, and Lady Gaga, who actually performed. Cardi B, I'm sorry, is not driving eyeballs the way Beyonce is. All due respect to Casey Musgraves, she's no Carrie Underwood. Not getting people to turn on the television. Shawn Mendes, sorry man, a wannabe Bieber at best. So there's problem number one. The nominees were stale and not famous enough. Secondly, if you want big stars to show up at your award show and perform music from their latest album, invite them. Don't piss them off. CBS and the Grammys producing staff have no excuse. Ariana Grande was slated to perform. She's a pop diva. She's probably a bit difficult to work with. Creative differences are bound to happen. But she's the famous pop diva, and you're the award show that's failing in the ratings. Don't piss her off. Suck up to her. Kiss her ass. Give her what she wants. Because she's worth a few million viewers. She's worth it. She's difficult. She's a diva. She's annoying. She's demanding. But she's worth it. Like it or not, Ariana Grande is perhaps the next great pop star. She's the next Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, Britney Spears. She would have certainly been the biggest name last night, by far and away. Camila Cabello ain't bringing in Ariana Grande numbers. Fantasia singing Aretha Franklin is not bringing in Ariana Grande numbers. Dua Lipa and Saint Vincent are not bringing in Ariana Grande numbers. Why was Ariana Grande not on this broadcast? We are not being told a part of this story. Something is being withheld from us. Because, my God, she would have been such a breath of fresh air last night. And I don't mean to sound like an Ariana Grande stan. I'm not a member of the Grande Hive. But my Lord, she wins Best Pop Album and is a no-show. I mean, what are you doing? Do you honestly think like people are tuning into the Grammys for the Diana Ross tribute? Do you think people are tuning into the Grammys to see J-Lo sing hits from Motown with Smokey Robinson? That's a whole other thing. What the fuck was that all about? I know like Twitter was angry about this because of the racial component. It's like, why is a Latina woman doing the Motown tribute? And like for me, it's not even like a racial thing. It's like, I don't think Jenny from the Block when I think Motown. You know, put race aside. This is not her genre of music. That was so strange. So this is a real problem for the Grammys, and I actually think it's fairly cut and dry. Like, the relationship between ratings and star power is directly proportional. The Oscars are the NFL, and the Grammys are the NBA. This is a star-driven business. It's flashy, it's glamorous, and it lives and dies on buzz. So the fact that Drake didn't perform, that Taylor Swift didn't perform, that Beyonce didn't perform is a legitimate problem and needs to be addressed. Cardi B is not the answer. J-Lo is not the answer. And I hate to say it because I thought she did a fairly good job on Sunday night. Alicia Keys is not the answer. Alicia took over that show. And more power to her because it was a fairly boring show from the get-go. She did her damnedest to put her stamp on that broadcast. I thought the bit with the two pianos, at first I started rolling my eyes. By the end of it, I was in. But Alicia Keys is not bringing in the eyeballs. Travis Scott is not bringing in the eyeballs. It was a serious problem. Star power is what the music industry lives and dies on, and the Grammys failed at that. It was a bad concert on Sunday night. It was not enjoyable. It was stale. It was boring. If you were there live, you would have left early. Let's beat the rush. Let's get out of the parking lot before traffic piles up. That being said, here are some compliments for the Grammys. A few compliments. Let's look on the bright side for a second. I tweeted this out. I defy you. Please name one musical artist that I love more than Dolly Parton. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Give it a shot. Oh, right. You can't name one because I don't love anyone more than Dolly Parton. My God, I love that woman. I loved the Dolly medley. I loved it. It was cheesy. The outfits were so corny and so tacky. But God damn it, I love those songs. I love Dolly's discography. And I'm not a big country music guy. I love Here We Come Again. I love 9 to 5. I love Islands in the Stream. I even like that new song that she did with Little Big Town. That was the highlight of the night. I could have just shut it off then. I wouldn't have missed anything. I adored it. Oh, actually, I would have missed something. This was my favorite moment. Not favorite performance, but favorite moment from the night. So, Dua Lipa and Saint Vincent do this edgy, ambitious, sexually defiant performance. right? These are two very attractive women, one playing a guitar, one singing in duet fashion, and there is sort of this underlying sexual tension going on, right, between these two women. And it's, I don't know, it's something. I mean, it was like in the top half of performances the other night, right? So the performance ends, and it's very bold and ambitious, and there's all this sexual tension bubbling to the surface. And these two women are standing back to back. And as the music fades, the producers of the Grammys decide to pan straight from St. Vincent and Dua Lipa to another section of the stage, where standing there, eyes wide, mouth seemingly agape, is comedy legend Bob Newhart. Who, to say he sticks out like a sore thumb, is really selling it short. He sticks out like a decapitated thumb. He sticks out like a decapitated arm with blood gushing all over the place. There has never been a fish more out of water than Bob Newhart at the Grammy Awards after Dua Lipa and St. Vincent. He's there all wrinkly. He looks confused, like his caretaker forgot to tell him where they were going, is barely reading the teleprompter and doing this stupid bit with some other chick I've never heard of. Because apparently at one point in time, Bob Newhart won the Best New Artist Grammy in like 1956 or something. That single pan is perhaps the funniest bit of visual comedy I've seen in a year. It was simply incredible. I was crying laughing when that happened. And then Bob goes out and kills it. His bit just absolutely destroys the room. The man has still got it. God bless Bob Newhart. Just an incredible moment. That was my favorite moment from the Grammys. Other than that, total snooze-fest. I couldn't tell you the difference between Camila Cabello and Brandy Cavill, or whatever the hell her name is. I'm sorry. I don't know these people. This is not my music industry anymore. Janelle Monáe goes out there and does a bad Prince impression. Yawn. Red Hot Chili Peppers are out there. Flea apparently has the same hat guy as J-Lo. That's what we learned. Big night for wide-brimmed hats. Big night for hats that cover up your face with a shadow. Just terrible. BTS, I guess, was pretty good too, even though I don't know who they are and what BTS stands for. Apparently some chicks were losing their mind on Twitter. The K-pop band from Korea. BTS. All right, that's all I got for you. I have nothing else. I have nothing more to give. Again, the Oscars should double down on the awards, and the Grammys should run from the awards as far as possible. And my God, if you're going to give Donald Glover the first ever rap record of the year award and song of the year award, for God's sakes, get this guy to show up. Lady Gaga's accepting the best pop duo Grammy without Bradley Cooper. Just so annoying. Kendrick's not even there to represent Black Panther. Just a total fumble at the goal line by the Grammys last night. A total fumble. That's all I got. This is Cultured. We'll be right back to talk more about the world of Hollywood. Won't you be there? All right. You wanted it. You came for it. Now let's talk about it. Blue Will Smith. Will Smith is going to go completely blue in the new Aladdin movie. This image debuted in an exclusive trailer during the Grammys the other night. Tobias from Arrested Development, Paul Giamatti in Big Fat Liar, and now Will Smith in Aladdin. Blue, blue, and very blue. Uh, this is the shit that a governor is going to have to resign over. I swear to God. This is bad news. This is a PR nightmare, ladies and gentlemen. What was Disney thinking? What was Guy Ritchie thinking? Guy Ritchie's a competent director. Has done very well with blockbusters over the years. Did those Sherlock Holmes movies that people seem to like. Man from U.N.C.L.E. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Fucking Snatch. Guy Ritchie, what's going on here? Blue Will Smith? All right, let's attempt to break this thing down logically. Let's try to get into the heads of these Disney executives. All right? So this is what happens. A few years ago, Disney announces that it's remaking Aladdin, which is par for the course. This is to be expected. Disney's entire plan for the future is to remake all of their movies from the 90s. That's their plan. And more power to them. It's working. Beauty and the Beast did very well. I think Cinderella did pretty okay. Obviously, Jungle Book was hugely successful, and The Lion King is coming out with a remake, and so is Dumbo. So it was only a matter of time before Aladdin joined that canon. Here's the problem, though, and I can only speak from the point of view of my generation, because Aladdin is squarely in my generation's wheelhouse. We grew up watching this movie. What Aladdin had that The Lion King didn't, and what The Little Mermaid didn't, and what Beauty and the Beast didn't, and what The Jungle Book didn't, and that 101 Dalmatians didn't, is an iconic performance from Robin Williams. Robin Williams as the genie is, in my opinion, and this is not even close, the best voice performance in the history of animated film. For many children my age, Aladdin was their first exposure to Robin Williams. His character was more alive than any other cartoon we had ever seen. It was hilarious and brilliant and dynamic and iconic. And so the rest of these live-action remakes have a luxury that Aladdin was not afforded. The Lion King can just swap out Matthew Broderick for Donald Glover and no one would know the difference. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what they're doing. They're banking on the iconography of the characters, not the lead performers. With Aladdin, that's not the case. Robin Williams and the genie are bigger than Aladdin. And now that Robin's gone, there was always an element of skepticism on the part of fans. We're sitting here crossing our arms, rolling our eyes, thinking to ourselves, really? Will Smith is the best you got? That's who's going to fill Robin's shoes? Nobody gives a shit when you cast Bill Murray in the new Jungle Book movie. But this Will Smith performance in Aladdin will forever and always be directly linked to Robin Williams. The comparisons will be inevitable. So Disney's in a bit of a catch-22. If you stray too far from the source material, you risk alienating your audience. You fail to deliver on the Aladdin that you promised them. But if you just have Will Smith doing a Robin Williams impression, he will never measure up. He will never be able to match the magic from the 90s. So what do? Disney tries to walk the tightrope, tries to play both sides. This Entertainment Weekly cover comes out a few months ago, and it shows the first image of Will Smith as the genie. And he is not blue. He is his regular skin color. And he has a funny-looking hat and some funny-looking facial hair. And this looks to be a reimagining of the genie character. Normal, live action, just Will Smith with a funny haircut. And the internet, being the internet, hated it. And made fun of that Entertainment Weekly cover. Called it goofy and ridiculous. And again, I think this is due to some preconceived notions of the movie. There was always an element of skepticism, as I said. And so Disney took some flack for that cover and was mocked with various memes on social media. And so then they released this new trailer and they said, all right, now we got to give audiences what they came to see. We need to deliver on the promise that this is the Aladdin they grew up with. So they have this trailer debut at the Grammys, and they end it with this image of the blue genie in the spirit of the original Robin Williams cartoon. And I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if the Entertainment Weekly cover was the right move, but this certainly is not the right move. And I feel for them, man. This is a lose-lose situation. No matter which way you slice it, audiences will not be satisfied with Will Smith as the genie. Your only option is to dig up Robin's corpse, hope to resuscitate him, or call a witch doctor to bring him back to life. That is your only option. That is the only way that audiences would be satisfied with this portrayal. But man, oh man, they were just asking for it on this one. This is prime meme material. This is top shelf memery right here. I'm not sure. Is this CGI? Is this painted on? Are these tattoos painted on? Is this just terrible makeup? Or is this really good CGI? Is Will Smith really that ripped? And my main question is, will he remain this way during the entire film? We've seen some screenshots to suggest that it is not the case. There are a few screenshots for the movie of him just laying there as normal Will Smith with a funny haircut. But man, if this is more than a 5-minute sequence in the movie, we are in for some trouble. I feel for Will Smith. At one point, this dude was America's sweetheart and was, I think, the most bankable star in Hollywood. He is still one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. But it's so funny. I have a friend who is a substitute teacher at a high school, and we were talking the other day about movies, I think. And she just mentioned out of the blue, yeah, I was talking to one of my students about Will Smith, and she had no idea who he was. And I started thinking back, all right, high school kid, 14 years old. You can maybe consider the last 5 years of her life prime movie viewing. Like, because she's not watching PG-13 movies until maybe the age of 8 or 9. All right, so she's 14, 15 years old. Let's say 6 years. What has Will Smith done in the 6 years, in the past 6 years, that kids would embrace? And the answer is Suicide Squad, and that's it. Seriously, the dude has not done anything that has spoken to a younger generation in a very long time. He did that movie Bright on Netflix, Collateral Beauty, which was a flop, Focus with Margot Robbie, another flop, Concussion was supposed to be an Oscar bait movie, failed at that mission. That movie Winter's Tale, After Earth with his son, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, Men in Black 3, ugh. Hancock in 2008? That was 11 years ago. Man, seriously, this dude used to be it. This dude used to be the guy at the box office. And now he's aging and he's pivoting a bit. And again, I don't know what the right move is. I'm not a Hollywood agent, but this certainly ain't it. I will say I've been enjoying the memes, though. We needed this. We needed something to laugh at. That was a great thing about the Grammys. Midway through that horrible award show, the internet got to take a second to agree on something. To join forces and to collectively shit on a piece of Disney CGI. I'm happy with it. Oh, boy. Aladdin, coming to theaters near you, May 24th, 2019. I will certainly not be there. Anything else we got today? We're sort of wrapping up the show here. I did see Cold Pursuit. Perhaps I'll do a review of that on Movie Hopping. Or maybe I'll do it right now. Yeah, let's do it right now. This movie flopped at the box office. Some are attributing it to that bizarre Liam Neeson story, which I think I've talked to death on 2 Cents about. I don't think I'm going to dig up those old wounds. It's a good movie. It's a good movie that people should watch. And it is not a Liam Neeson movie. It's so funny. I'm there with my brother and my father. This is like a tradition for us. Every year a Liam Neeson with a gun movie comes out, the three of us are first in line. We got our tickets the very first showing Thursday night, the night before the Friday debut. We were there at 7 o'clock to a packed house, Cold Pursuit tickets pre-ordered days in advance. And turns out this movie ain't Taken. It ain't The Gray. It ain't The Commuter. It ain't Nonstop. This movie's like Fargo, except not as funny, but still pretty good. The thing is, it's like a real crime movie. That's the bizarre thing about it. It's like a movie with a plot that makes sense and that has interesting stuff to say about its characters and about its world and about its star. In many ways, this is an anti-Liam Neeson movie, or a movie that specifically pokes fun at Liam's archetype. I felt the same way about Widows, which he was also in for about 10 to 15 minutes, and he's very good in that movie. His casting in Widows is an artistic decision in and of itself. To cast Liam Neeson in that role is to poke fun at Liam Neeson's previous roles. And I feel the same way about Cold Pursuit. This movie satirizes other Liam Neeson movies. It casts him in stark opposition to The Commuter and to Nonstop and to Taken. This guy is just a dude in the middle of Colorado who drives his snowplow and whose son gets mixed up with some wrong guys. He's not a murderer. He's not a cold-blooded killer. His kills are sloppy. His path of revenge is not as smooth as in Taken. There are some bumps along the way. And I enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and I would recommend that other people watch it. My brother and father, on the other hand, oh boy. Did they have some words for Cold Pursuit afterwards? Here was my brother's specific quote at the end of Cold Pursuit. We're walking out of the theater. I'm grinning ear to ear because I'm pleasantly surprised. I enjoy dark comedies like this. And my brother turns to me and goes, I didn't know it was going to be a real movie. I wish it wasn't like a movie with a plot and with characters. Like, there was like a half hour of this movie that Liam just wasn't even in. I came for Liam. I wanted to see Liam shoot some people, take some names, shoot some heads off, avenge his son. I didn't come for a lecture. I didn't come because I wanted to be made fun of and be taken as a fool, to be mocked for seeing other Liam Neeson movies and enjoying them. He felt stupid, or at least he felt like the filmmaker behind this movie hated him. Hated the type of guy that would go to The Commuter unironically, to go to Taken unironically, and enjoy themselves. Simply put, he didn't want it to be a real movie. And the fact that it was good made it bad. The odd thing is I understood exactly where he was coming from. Like, I totally got it, right? Like, we were not expecting that type of movie. I was pleasantly surprised by it. Again, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. If you are going looking for a mindless, wall-to-wall violence, fun action movie, you are in for a surprise. this might not be the flick for you, because this is a Liam Neeson movie like he's never made. It's too bad that it's not doing well at the box office, and it really is unfortunate, everything going on with Liam these days. Again, I have no more takes to give as far as that goes. The BAFTAs were this week. I will give a brief update at the state of the Oscar race. Again, we will give our official predictions next week because the Oscars are now, a mere 12 days away? February 24th is when they're going to air. Yeah, so we are 12 days away. The BAFTAs were this week, and those are commonly known as the British Oscars. They are the biggest film award show in the UK. And again, these are not a perfect indicator for the Oscars. None of these award shows are perfect indicators for the Oscars. They do serve as a pretty good barometer. It's sort of a finger on the pulse of some of these major races. Now, a couple things. The winner of the Best Actress BAFTA was Olivia Colman from The Favorite. She will not win the Oscar. It is either going to be Glenn Close or Lady Gaga, and it is far more likely than not that it's going to be Glenn Close. Olivia Colman wins this award because she is British. And this is a British award, and British awards like awarding British films. So she wins that, as does Rachel Weisz for The Favorite, another British woman. Regina King, the frontrunner for the Oscar, was not nominated in this category for the BAFTA. Again, take that with a grain of salt. Those races are still pretty much decided. On the other hand, there is some movement in the Best Actor category. This is probably the most exciting major category. Everyone pretty much agrees that Mahershala Ali is going to win Best Supporting Actor. And as I said, Glenn Close and Regina King are going to win the actress categories, as will Alfonso Cuarón for Best Film. Rami Malek takes home Best Actor, and so now he should be treated as the heavy favorite. There was a little bit of a push for Christian Bale after the Golden Globes. I think I myself predicted that Christian Bale would win the Oscar. I think the momentum is now swung back in Rami's direction. He took home the Screen Actors Guild Award a few weeks ago. Consider that category basically locked up. He will take home Best Actor at the Oscars. And as I told you, immediately after the Golden Globes, and I think even a few days before the Golden Globes, Roma is going to win Best Picture. It takes home Best Picture at the BAFTAs and has basically done the same at every other major award show. I haven't checked the Vegas odds in a while. I am almost certain that it is going to be all Roma all night at the Oscars. Let me pull it up right now. This is via MyBookie, my gambling site of choice. Okay, here we go. So there was a push for Green Book, as I mentioned a few weeks ago. It is 5-1 in Vegas, and Roma is now a minus 500 favorite. You have to bet $500 to win a measly $100 if you were to bet on it in Las Vegas. Yeah, it's a lock. And that's exciting. Like that is major news. It is not only Netflix's first Oscar ever, it is also the very first foreign film to ever win Best Picture. It's a big deal. We'll talk about it more as the Oscars approaches and after Roma ultimately wins that award. It's too bad that these races aren't a little more exciting. It's too bad that we can't prognosticate and debate a little bit more. It's just a down year for the Oscars. It is. We talked about that earlier. I'm not going to belabor the point. The Oscars really blew a good thing here. They really fucked everything up for everybody. So there you go. I think that does it. Yeah, I think that does it. Man, I got very heated today. I'm sorry that I drank some haterade this morning. I will try to soften up next week for our pre-Oscar show. It's just so frustrating. This industry is so frustrating to talk about because I love it so much, yet it lets me down so often. I hope you don't feel the same way about this podcast, though. And I thank each and every one of you for sticking it out to the end. Please follow us on Twitter at TMT_media. That is where all of my pop culture musings are available immediately. As soon as I think them, they are put to text and sent out over that Twitter feed. Please follow at TMT_media. It means the world to us. We're also on Instagram at Too Many Thoughts Media and on Facebook at facebook.com/Too Many Thoughts Media. That'll do it. Please, please, please listen to all of our other podcasts, including Why Is This a Thing? It's been a very exciting week over at Why Is This a Thing? We did an interview that was released Monday with a man named Andrew Drury, who calls himself an adventure journalist. The man has been known to vacation in war zones. He's been shot at by ISIS. He has visited North Korea. He has dined with warlords. And he came to our silly little podcast on Monday to share all of those stories. Please do subscribe to that podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your shows, or by going to the website, toomanythoughtsmedia.com. 2 Cents Radio, Movie Hopping, Nico Show. They're all up there as well. You know the drill. Tweet me at Funny Nico Tweets. Email me, nicodgregorio7@gmail.com. And most importantly, listeners of the cultured world, come back next week. Because you know that then and only then will be our opportunity to get cultured. Love you.